This week's Big Little recipe is a perfect weeknight dinner. If you like creamy, cheesy tomato sauces on pasta, I have a new favorite for you, but it doesn't use canned tomatoes or cream or Parmesan or maybe a lot of the ingredients that you would expect. The only ingredients you'll need are cream cheese, sun-dried tomatoes, capers, and long pasta. So I have a big pot of water over high heat to come to a boil. And in the meantime, I am going to work on my sauce, which truly could not be easier. We are not starting with canned tomatoes like you might expect with a marinara sauce. Instead, our tomato sauce is all about sun-dried tomatoes. See how beautiful and wrinkly they are? So sun-dried tomatoes were very popular for a while, and then they kind of became too popular. A lot of people started turning on them, saying they were like too old school or they're cliche or passé. But I don't agree. I disagree. Feel free to fight me in the comments. I think sun-dried tomatoes are insanely delicious. They have tons of umami. They keep in your pantry for so long. You can always have them on hand. So I always have them on hand. I love throwing them to salads. And I love turning them into pasta sauces, like the one that we're making today. So first step is mincing them up. You can get ones that are kind of big boys like this. I've seen jars that are julienne. Either of that is fine here. The only thing that you want to avoid is ones that are dry packed, so not packed in oil. The oil is coming in handy here, so we do want it. It also makes like a plumper, fattier sun-dried tomato, which I like. We don't have any meat in this recipe, so a little bit of extra fat in our tomato goes a long way. It adds a lot more flavor. We are going for minced, so basically that just means really finely chopped. This is going to make sure that every single bite of our pasta has tons of sun-dried tomato flavor. So I am just gonna measure it out. We're going for 1/3 cup. If you have a little extra, a little under, this is not the sort of recipe you can mess up. So I think don't stress about absolutely anything, just let it be. This is over 1/3 cup. That's fine. It's gonna be a little extra tomatoey. I like that. Oops. Now I need a bowl. Thank you. Okay. So we are going to add these to our mixing bowl. Our next most important ingredient in our sauce is cream cheese. So just like its name is implying here, this is creamy and it's cheesy. And I know that sounds really obvious. It's called cream cheese, but in a tomato sauce, this is like a total workhorse. It's a superhero. It's doing the jobs of multiple people. It is going to melt into this amazing creamy sauce, and it adds this funky, awesome, cheesy flavor, and it's doing that all on its own. I am just mashing this in with a fork. If you think ahead and remember to take out your cream cheese a little in advance so it softens up, that's great. But I've done it both ways and you really don't have to. You can take it straight from the fridge. You will just have to use like a tiny bit more elbow grease, but that's fine, we can do it. Now I'm just gonna keep doing this until the color of the cream cheese starts to get rosy. Again, don't obsess over it, but once you feel like the ingredients are starting to become one instead of two, that's a good place to stop. Yum! And now we can get onto our topping. So This is where our sun-dried tomato oil is coming in handy. I am heating it in a small skillet, and now I am going to measure out a few tablespoons of capers. Now, I like these in the vinegar because it adds bonus acidity, but you want to make sure that you dry them off beforehand. If they are wet and they go into hot oil, it is going to splatter all over you, and we don't want that. So a few tablespoons, just dry them off really quickly, and then they will crisp up even better. Now, I think you could add capers to just about anything, especially a cream cheese bagel, and they taste so salty, so good. They add so much awesome flavor and umami. But when you fry them, just like when you fry anything, and especially when you fry them in this infused tomatoey oil, it becomes this topping that is like, I don't know, dare I say, it almost puts Parmesan to shame. It just takes this really simple pasta and totally sends it over the top, and it takes almost no extra time too. So when our oil is hot, we're gonna add it in. I'm just gonna test it with 1 caper and we'll see what happens. Okay, little sizzle. I think we're basically there. So these have been going for just a couple minutes, but they are starting to puff and split and brown, if you want to come look. Yum. So I am going to use a fork and just get these onto a paper towel lined plate so any excess oil can drain off. Now, with a lot of fried things, you might be inclined to do a tiny sprinkle of salt on top when it's still hot. Don't do that here. One of the only times they'll say it, don't do it. The capers are so salty to begin with. They do not need any help. I'm just gonna eat one because I want to. So good. So good. I could eat all of them just as a snack. So I generously salted my pasta water. I estimate a tablespoon of kosher salt, I used Diamond Crystal, to a quart of boiling water. It's your life. You can do what you want. You could drop it as low as a teaspoon. I really wouldn't recommend going below that. This is our chance to season the pasta throughout, and if we miss this opportunity, we never get it again. I am using a thickish spaghetti. You could also use bucatini, linguine, fettuccine, ramen. Any long twirlable noodle would be really nice here. Like most Big Little recipes, any noodle would be fine. Like you totally could use a short one, but with this sauce, I really like something that I can twist on my fork and then shove in my mouth. So our pasta is almost done. At this point, I am going to be getting one of our most important ingredients that you might not think is an ingredient, pasta water. It is salted water that is infused with starchy pasta, and it is such a game changer in our sauce. Don't drain the pasta without getting the pasta water. In fact, this is why I almost never put pasta through a colander, because if you pull it out with tongs or a spider, then you can never make the mistake of not having enough pasta water on hand. I got out a full cup. We probably won't be using all of this, but better safe than sorry. Better to have more at the ready than you think you might need. If it's not perfectly smooth, that's totally okay at this point. It'll get there. We are just sort of tempering it up. Great. pretty good. I'm gonna try a noodle just to see where we're at. 40 more seconds. That's what I think it needs, 40 more seconds. Oh my gosh. Oh, you can see it's little tushy. All right, pasta is all ready. I am going to use tongs to transfer it. I just find it easier. If you want to use a colander, that works too. So at this point, the pasta is starting to look a little thick. I'm gonna add a tiny splash of water. You don't want it soupy or diluted, but you do want it a little bit looser than you're gonna want it when you're eating, because as it sits, it's just gonna keep thickening up. I am going to taste for salt at this point. Because our pasta water was seasoned though, and we were using that for our sauce, you probably won't need much, if any. This is so good. This is so good. This is my new favorite pasta sauce. I want to eat more. It doesn't need salt. And when you're thinking about seasoning, remember the capers. The fried capers are on their way. Think of this almost like sprinkling flaky salt on top of a dish. These add a lot of salt. So if you're thinking maybe it could use just a hair, don't. Just leave it. It's perfect as it is. Now we are ready to eat. This is our creamy, cheesy, sun-dried tomato pasta. You could dig into this exactly as it is, or if you want a little kick, you have two optional options. So the first one is black pepper, just freshly ground on top just for a little bit of heat. Or if you want to take the heat a little bit further, you could do red pepper flakes. You tell me. Let me know in the comments if you would want something spicy on top of this. If you're looking for like just ultra cozy though, and you just want to feel like you are being like swaddled in a blanket and told everything is going to be okay, I think this is really lovely and cozy as is. And I love eating it on the couch in the middle of winter when it is really cold. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will be back soon with another big little recipe.